Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. And I'm joined today by Petra. Petra, can you please introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you do?
Sure. My name is Petra Smith, and I work for the Allen Institute in Seattle, Washington. We are a biomedical research organization of about 900 people, and I have the honor of leading our people and culture team, which is
Mhm.
comprised of our learning, experience, and development team, core human resource functions, and our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongings team.
Perfect. Thank you. And can you share a little bit about what is actually the approach to flexible work at the Allen Institute?
At the Allen Institute, our approach to flexible work is really hyper flexible is the way that we
Mm.
refer to it. As we returned from the pandemic and we had about half of our team working fully remote, we had some
Mm.
decisions to make about
Mhm.
what our requirements would be to come back into the office. And we determined pretty early on that we were going to leave decisions about the level of flexibility up to individual teams and leaders
Mhm.
to meet their business needs, and that we were not going to institute a mandated in-office amount of time, but really let the business needs drive
Mhm.
how things were organized team by team.
So what did you see as the benefits of this approach? Why is that something that you chose?
For us, some of the benefits of a hyper-flexible approach are instead of having a one-size-fits-all for all 900 folks in the organization,
Mhm.
it really allows individual team members and leaders to design what works best, not only for the work that needs to be done, but for the individuals on the team. Some of the positive impacts of that, I think, are greater buy-in from team members,
Mhm.
provides flexibility for individuals to meet the needs that they have outside of the workplace. And I think that engenders more engagement, leads to longer retention, less
Mhm.
turnover, happier team members, which I think results in better work and accelerates our mission.
Excellent. Now, I worked with the Information Sciences Institute, which is a 300-ish people research institute at the University of Southern California, and it also adopted, we worked on the same idea. We adopted a pretty hyper-flexible model, but they did have some challenges with things like collaboration, onboarding of new staff, mentoring. Definitely worked on a full-fledged mentoring program. That was a major issue. So, and that's a research institute in many ways similar to the Allen Institute in this form of teams, researchers, and people who work for them. I'm sure you have probably some graduate students or something like that. Tell me a
Mhm.
little bit more about what kind of challenges you experienced. I'm curious if there will be some parallels to what I saw in my work consulting for the Information Science Institute.
Sure. So the Allen Institute, so we're, as I said, we're about 900 people. About half
Hmm.
of our team work in our labs. And so
Hmm.
their work demands that they be on site for the majority
Yep.
of it. And so even through COVID, about half of our team was on site
Mhm.
most of the time. And then the other half was working fully remote and then is now returned in a hybrid fashion with what works at the team level. So some of the challenges that we've faced are making sure that the expectations for individual employees and the managers and leaders and the needs of the business are aligned. We've
Mm.
certainly had some situations where employees have wanted to work fully remote,
Mhm.
and that hasn't been conducive to the collaboration you were referencing and
Uh,
team building. And so, um, uh, using my team as an example, my people and
mhm.
culture team is made up of 32 people, and we have one in-office day a month. We do an
Okay.
all-staff meeting on that day, and we build other in-person collaborative activities to happen on that same day so that people don't
Mhm.
feel like they're coming in just for a 2 hour meeting when the rest of their work could be done fully remotely. So that's what happens on my team. Across the
Mhm.
institute, meeting some of the challenges of making sure that we have opportunities to build collaboration, creating opportunities for that serendipitous interaction with folks that really
Mhm.
breathe a lot of creativity and innovation is we do a lot at the Allen Institute to incentivize people to want to be on site.
Mm.
And so there's the baseline of what does the business require, and then
Mhm.
we do a lot to make the community really engaging and interactive and incentivize people to want to be there. Some of the things that we do, we have a seminar series called the Allen Hour. It
Mhm.
happens every other week, and oftentimes after that learning opportunity, there's a social hour. People get to
Mhm.
engage, ask
Yeah.
questions. Last week, as an example, we had our postdocs and our postdocs and some of our interns doing their poster series, and so it was an
Mhm.
opportunity for them to showcase the work that they've been doing over the last year for our postdocs, and engage with folks in that way. We also provide fruit on Mondays, Monday fruit.
Mhm.
Everybody likes a little bit of healthy food midday, and
Sure.
so lots of different things to draw people in and
Mhm.
build community. The other place that we build a lot of community is we have 6 affinity groups, and
Mhm.
they are very active in opportunities for learning about cultures, engaging together.
Mm.
So again, different strategies to just help make the workplace and the work site a place where people want to be. And that's been pretty effective for us.
Excellent. Yeah, it reminds me of some of the stuff that the Information Sciences Institute was doing. What we arranged there was to have breakfast activities on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then Thursday to have like a lunch meeting and also a breakfast meeting for senior leaders. And so people know that that's kind of functions as a social anchor. And this is in addition to the academic events and social hours after that. We also have some things like yoga groups and so on that people come together and have social activities. So the socializing is really valuable to bring people in. And so that really echoes what I recall them doing. Now, another thing, what we recall for the consultant, another thing that I found and what we found was a challenge is that different managers had different levels of skill in approaching hybrid work. It's often the case that academics don't really get training in how to be managers. So even that, they lack good training, that they become managers because they get grants and they have money and they manage teams, but they don't necessarily get training in how to be managers. It's especially the case that no managers got training in hybrid work before the pandemic overwhelmingly. And so we had to do a lot of training to help managers learn what are the best practices of actually managing their teams, communicating, coordinating, innovating. There are lots of techniques to do so in remote and flexible settings and hybrid settings, but many people didn't really figure those things out until they were taught to do that, to share some best practices across the organization. So I'm curious what you're doing to help managers, meaning the PIs who are leading teams, the principal investigators, for those folks who don't know in terms of the audience who are listening, what you do to help them manage their teams effectively in this hyper-flexible setting.
Yeah, that's a great question. Even before COVID, we've had a learning series for new managers and new leaders,
Mm.
whether somebody's been promoted internally or come from the outside. We've got a curriculum for them to support them in their leadership roles.
Mhm.
And as we were returning from COVID, to your point, it's a great call out. We built some resources for leaders to understand and think
Mhm.
about what they should be, how they should be approaching hybrid work, making
Mhm.
decisions about what are the minimum requirements for their teams, how to have those conversations with individuals when there might be a lack of alignment between what the
Mhm.
leader's seeking and what individuals are seeking, how to manage performance, productivity, individual needs that are different when somebody is in the office sometimes and working remotely sometimes. The tools that we've put together are some guidelines, some
Mhm.
workflows, some questions and prompts that are available to leaders to go to. So when somebody moves into a leadership role, that's a time when we make sure they're
Mm.
familiar with all of those materials, and then our human resource business partners are also connecting with leaders regularly. And so our intent is that rather than waiting until there's a challenge or a
Mhm.
conflict between a leader, an individual, or a team, it's really help leaders be ready to lead effectively so that it's a seamless experience for
Mhm.
everybody involved.
Excellent. And the last issue I wanted to touch on in terms of challenge was mentoring and onboarding, like getting new people on the team. As you're getting new people on the team, especially junior people, it's much more difficult to do so in a hyper flexible environment where they're not meeting people and they're not getting mentoring They're not forming those networks naturally that they previously would have done so when they're in person. So something we have to do at the Information Science Institute is to establish a well-fledged, thought out and well-fleshed out mentoring program where we match junior researchers with more senior researchers who have been there for a while and have both from their own department and from other departments, from their own department to get them into the culture, subculture of their department, from other departments to help them learn about the organization more broadly, the career track, and so on. And so I'm curious what you are doing in that field. How, and this is separately from onboarding. We have to do, of course, onboarding as well, but mentoring that after that first few weeks, that proved to be very valuable. I'm curious what you're doing for these new folks that you're bringing on, especially in the research field, who need that mentoring and sponsorship that is harder to get in a hyper-flexible environment.
Yeah. So for our new employees, we do have an on-site first day that occurs, and then we have at about the 1 month mark, each month we have a new employee orientation or a learning and connection week is what we refer to it as. And so anybody who started in the last month participates in that, and significant portions of that are in person, are in the building. And so we help to create a cohort for our new employees. And then part of the tools and support that we provide for leaders is around specifically having new team members come on. How are you going to help as a leader? How are you going to help them, those new employees, get connected and engaged and build those networks that you were referring to? So some teams, as an example, have an expectation that new employees are working on site for a certain period of time at the beginning of employment to more naturally build some of those connections. And it varies from team to team depending on what the work is. And so we leave that again at the leader level for individual teams, but we provide some structure and some guidance to help them in prompting that, thinking about that. So instead of it just happening, they're being really intentional about it. With regard to mentoring, we do not have a formal mentoring program other than our summer internship program and postbac programs at the moment. That's on our list to build out a more robust mentoring opportunity. But I see with our interns and our postbacks stay for 1 to 2 years, depending on what their projects are. Our interns come for the summer. We'll have our first cohort coming in 2 weeks. I'm excited. We've got an intern coming to join our team for 10 weeks. And so summer interns come for 10 weeks. And it's a very curated experience. And so they're doing a lot of their work on site. They are connected with a mentor. They're part of a cohort group. And we'd like to replicate that more broadly across our organization. Although I will point out that the other place that we are really starting to create some cohorts, they're not formal mentors, but it's really bringing community together, is we have a lot of individuals that come join the Allen Institute from different parts of the world. So they may be new to working in the United States, maybe new to working on the West Coast, maybe new to working in Seattle, certainly are new to working at the Allen Institute. Many of them come and are under visa sponsorship. And so we've created a cohort of those folks. It's a voluntary participation, but brings together folks that bring experiences from different parts of the world into the Allen and a way to build community. So there's some informal mentoring that happens there.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. That has been very helpful. As we wrap up, what do you see as the future of hyperflexible work at the Allen Institute?
At the Allen Institute in particular, I think and I hope that we'll remain hyper flexible. Our CEO and I feel like we're very aligned that we really like the approach of making the workplace in the physical space a place where people want to come versus getting to any kind of mandate. I think that as we become more skilled in that leadership part, the dynamics of leading hybrid and remote teams, we will just continue in the way that we have. It will be a part of the culture and the fabric of the Allen Institute.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing your expertise. That was very helpful.
Sure. Happy to. Nice talking with you.
And thank you to the audience for checking out another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you checked out the show and leave a review. It helps others discover the show and it helps us improve the show.